I just ate, sorry, there's food in my teeth.
Tell us about the time Palms played a show at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah, that was about a little over a year ago now, a year and a few months, something like that.
Yeah.
That was fun. It was, opening for a huge band in a huge venue. Something, Aaron and I had done in the past in our old band Isis. We opened for tour for 7 weeks, so we were kind of familiar with doing stuff like that before. It was fun to do again. It wasn't like, it was pressure in some ways. It's like, you're playing in front of a lot of people, but at the same time, it's a lot of people who are there to see someone else. Mm-hmm. In that case, it was System of a Down. But it was fun.
It was fun, yeah. I remember seeing Sigur Rós there. And I remember just watching the show and being like, this would be a great venue to play. Yeah. I didn't even think there would be a possibility I'd get to play there sometime, but...
So a pretty memorable moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally, yeah. A lot of legendary bands have played there, I think there was, The Doors live from the Hollywood Bowl. I think my friend had that on, VHS or something like that. I watched it a million times, and then you're playing there. So it's fun, it was a good time.
And I'm sure with your career in Isis, there have been a lot of memorable moments.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Are there memories that stick out from that first tour with Cave In 1999?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely.
Most notably when their van caught on fire and they lost almost everything.
Oh, God.
Was that our first tour with them, really? Oh, yeah.
It was a good time for both bands, and it's our first U.S. tour, and it was with our friends, and God, I was 19, you were 20?
21, yeah, we were just kids. But I remember driving by and seeing this huge thing of smoke, and us joking, I wonder if that's Cave In's van, and then getting closer and realizing it was, and being like, hope we're not inside it, from laughing to going to complete and utter horror.
Yeah, I remember getting out of the van, running to the rest stop, just I felt like I was gonna puke, because it was
horrible.
All I could think was that they were in that van on fire, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But did they play the next day, or did we?
No, they ended up playing the last show. I think there was 3 shows they canceled, and then they ended up going to the last show, which was in Worcester or something like that.
That's right.
And kind of cobbled together some gear.
Oh, man.
Yeah, made the show happen. And the gear they did have reeked like smoke.
Yeah.
I remember that.
The old days.
Yeah.
It was crazy. They would pull a cash box, smoldering out of the firemen were pulling out this gear, and they pulled out the cash box and opened it, and all the money they had made from tour was just reduced to you could kind of see some dollar bills,
Oh, man.
The guitars were just, they had sprayed it with water. Everything was just just a mess.
Good times.
Oh, wow.
So after a month of touring, that's what they were going home with.
Yeah, it was rough.
It sucked. But.
And you said you were 19 and 20 when that happened.
Something like that. We were kids, in our early 20s.
And then Isis went on until you guys were in your early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most of us, were in our early to late 30s, yeah.
If you could go back to that era and give yourself advice, your 19, 20-year-old self-advice, what would you say?
Save your money.
Keep going. Do more.
No, it's funny. All your peers tell you to save your money, but it really is true. If you're making good money, save your money.
I've led an interesting life. A lot of my friends kind of did the whole career, family, house thing, really early in life, and I don't know. I wouldn't trade what I've done for the world.
Yeah, we all had so much fun doing that I wouldn't change anything about the way we did things or the experiences we had. It's not like I made a ton of money, but I probably wouldn't have spent it on some of the things I had. But,
I made a pretty good living seeing the world and playing music. That's pretty cool.
More than we could have asked for. So.
Yeah, especially playing the kind of music we did play.
Yeah.
Were there moments along the way where you felt discouraged and wanted to give up?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that comes with the territory.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't want to say every day, but at least every tour you have the moment where what the fuck am I doing in my life?
Yeah.
And it's, this was back in the day when there was no cell phones. There was no GPS. I mean, there was, but we didn't have, there were payphones. We had a map, and we knew we were supposed to play, we were supposed to play in Santa Ana at the observatory. So we would just go, okay, we need to take this highway to this highway and get off, and we'll just start asking people, and just go to a 7-Eleven or hey, do you know where the observatory is? You know, and eventually you get there, and then you put a sign at your merch table like, you know, is there anyone that could put us up for the night? We'll sleep on your floor. You know, so you have to make a lot of sacrifice, and I feel like nowadays when bands ask, like, do you have any advice for a young band, or what, you know, give me some advice, and I just feel like you just gotta be, you know, tough and stick it out, and I don't know, it's gonna suck sometimes, but you know, if you believe in what you're doing and keep going and keep doing it and develop your own style and your own thing, then, you know,
I say don't get a manager, don't try to get signed, things like that. Just go and do it because you love it.
I feel like a lot of bands go into it already with the wrong idea of how to, you know, if you really love playing music, start with that and then see what happens. Don't go in like ready to, you know, already. I mean, it's good to have dreams, but you know, start slow.
We live in LA, so you know, you don't meet a lot of people like that. You know, they have an agent or whatever before they have, you know, 3 songs. They have you know, a booking agent. They have a manager. They have, you know, a showcase for labels. You know, you see a lot of shit like that. It's unfortunate, but that's how people think.
Well, even after the band disbanded, are you content with how everything went down with Isis?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different feelings within the band, but I think you saw it kind of coming to its natural conclusion. You could just sort of feel it coming to an end. I think the last few albums, especially with In the Absence of Truth, I think that was sort of the beginning of the end. It wasn't exactly said out loud, but that was sort of felt in the room, you know, between the 5 of us. Even if no one was saying it, it was felt.
Yeah.
You know, I think musically, it wasn't like we were going in different directions. It's just that common ground was really getting smaller and smaller as far as like the 5 of us being able to write songs that we all thought was, you know, we all thought were good. And in that case, you know, we're just sort of spinning our wheels creatively. We were to write another album after Wavering Radiant, just be more of the same. And it wasn't easy to do, to break up something that was been. It hadn't been easy. It wasn't an easy decision to break up something that had been a big part of our lives for that long. But I think it was the right thing to do. You know, we could have just dragged it out for another album cycle, and I think we all really would have been unhappy. But I think we did the right thing. You know. And obviously, you know, we're all friends. You know, we didn't break up because we hate each other or anything like that. But you know, it's sad, but it had to happen. And it might have taken some time to see that, you know. But it is what it is.
Well, you guys have done a lot of interesting stuff since then. Palms. And I know you all, Aaron, you do a lot of recording.
Yep.
Drum tech stuff.
Yep.
What happened in San Diego with Tool and Danny Carey's snare head?
Oh.
Tell us that.
Man, that was crazy. He has one main snare and then he has 2 backup snares, and it was in the middle of Push It, if I remember correctly, and he was just playing, and you know, as the tour was going on, he was getting stronger and hitting harder, and you know, naturally as you do, and just in the middle of Push It, I just heard like the snare wasn't sounding the same. And I could see like he was trying to get my attention because I sit right behind him, and he was like looking down at the snare, and he was like, hey, you know, trying to tell me like the snare's broken.
Oh man.
And I was like, oh shit, this is like the worst time for this to happen. And I just like had to like think for a second. You know, you try to be like, try not to like stress and try to think clearly. And I was like, shit, okay. So we obviously had a couple backups, and I just had to find a time to make the swap. And I came up to him and I tapped him and I said, I'm going to swap the snare in this next section because it's a little break where Adam does like a little thing by himself. So there's a little lever on the snare stand, and then in that pause, I had the snare. He picked it up, gave it to me. I took the other one, put it in place. He just kept playing, didn't even skip a beat, just went right into the, you know.
That's crazy.
Just kept going. It was great. The crowd was like, yeah. It was cool.
Sounds stressful.
And you guys, sorry, go ahead.
No, it was stressful, but it was, you know, it's like one of those things where you spend a lot of nights just sitting there, like making sure everything's cool, but then something like that happens and it's like a rush, you know. It's like,
yeah,
it's kind of fun.
And Isis toured with Tool in 2006.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
That's pretty wild.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're all like, obviously heroes of ours and hugely influential and just great dudes, great people to tour with, and treated us so nicely, and we learned so much from those guys. It was just an honor.
What's this about getting stuck in an airport right before that tour in London?
Oh, me.
Yeah.
That was right when the gel bomb thing had happened. I was on vacation with my wife in Barcelona, and she was on a different flight than me, and her flight got through, but I was one of the flights that came into Heathrow and got held up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was held up there for, I think, 2 days, if I remember, at least one day. And it wasn't, we were leaving for the Tool tour like a few days.
It was like we had that like Tim Hecker collaboration
You guys had to
show.
do that
I
without
didn't
me.
make it to that either, for a personal matter. But yeah, it was supposed to be the full Isis band with Tim Hecker, and it ended up being like Mike, Cliff,
Everyone
and
but
Aaron.
us.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was like I think it was like it wasn't a lot of time. It was like a week,
yeah,
if that.
I got home, and
It was hairy for a while.
that was a stressful week leading up to that tour.
And you got your gear right before you had to go.
Yeah, I even went out and bought a bunch of new clothes because my bag was totally lost, and it actually showed up the day we were leaving.
Yeah.
But you get through it, and it's fun.
Well, along the lines of the gel bomb thing, there's also the ISIS confusion that just happened recently.
Really, you don't say.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean,
Thought it would have happened a lot sooner, to tell you the truth.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like how long the ISIS, the terrorist group, is months old, but yet the whole ISIS, the band thing, confusion, it seemed to happen a month ago.
Yeah.
It just that the news article came out. I thought, if anything, would have happened a while ago. But yeah, that news article happened. I was like, oh, it'll blow over, and eventually it did. But for a few days, it was a little scary. Like, oh, this isn't going away. But eventually, it's sort of died down a little. So
yeah, it was stressful for like a couple weeks there. It was like, shit. You don't really want to address it, but at a certain point, it's kind of like, you can't just not. Well, we didn't really say too much, but yeah, it was stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be associated with one of the worst terrorist groups in the world.
Well, back to Palms. Are you surprised by how much the music has resonated with people since the formation of this band?
Yes and no. I mean, when you mentioned like two bands like this coming together, you knew there was going to be some sort of reaction, both positive and negative. Like, I feel like people already had their minds made up about the band right when they heard the announcement. People had their minds, oh, fuck those guys, or like, people have their minds made up that they're going to love it. I'm just glad once people actually heard it, that for the most part, people seem to have liked it. So. So that's a good thing, It
was definitely weird starting something over after we've been in the same band for
exactly
13 years together, and then, doing something new, and with Chino, who is, again, another person that we've listened to his music for a long time and looked up to him and what he's done and Deftones have done, and so it's a treat. I mean, he's a vocalist that I personally always wanted to do something with, and I think you guys probably feel the same.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like, I think it's a great combination of musicians, and we were definitely trying to stretch and do something different that wasn't going to be ISIS Part 2, and like we wanted to bring in someone that was going to really take it to a different level. I was really excited when I heard he was interested in doing this, and so far so good,
Do you still get song ideas riding your bike?
I don't ride my bike as much anymore. I mean, I do. I do. It sounds really silly, but I do a lot of yoga now, and running,
cool.
And I get a lot of ideas doing that. But I do. Riding my bike's always been a source of inspiration. So, when I do get out on it, it's always like refreshing. Clarifying.
And where do you get your inspiration?
My inspiration?
Yes.
Oh, God. Everyday life. No, I don't know. Something like ideas just sort of come to me sometimes. I have a bass at home. I play it, pretty much, just a little bit every day. I don't know, ideas just sort of come to me. Sometimes I'll be reading. It'll be something I read, something I watch, something I'm listening to. Oh, music definitely. Whatever I'm listening to, definitely. I'll draw from. Like anytime I see the Swans live, I tend to like want to write really long, repetitive shit. For sure. Like stuff like that. Definitely like I always seem to get ideas driving too.
Yeah.
Like when I did this solo thing called Crone, and anytime I recorded stuff, I would take it out and listen to it driving around Los Angeles at night, and ideas would just come to me of like, oh, something like this over this would sound neat, Just ideas would just come when you're driving around. As ugly as a city as LA is, it's also really pretty, and it can be really beautiful.
Yeah.
And inspiring in a way, So I get a lot of ideas doing shit like that too. Just driving around, wasting gas.
I know late last year you guys started writing some new material.
Mm-hmm.
What are some future plans for Palms?
Just put out more music, put out another record.
Mm-hmm. You'll see more from us eventually.
Just takes time, everybody's busy, and Chino's obviously really busy, and we all live in, well, Jeff and I live in LA, and Cliff lives in Ohio, and Chino's up in Oregon now, so it's not as even easy. The first record was hard, even so now it's even harder.
Yeah.